David Wu was born in Chenzhou, Taiwan. His parents were non-political refugees from China who moved from, is that Sichuan? To Taiwan in 1946 before the Communist Revolution. The family moved to Southern California, where Wu completed his primary and secondary education in local public schools. He attended Stanford University for his undergrad education, studying biochemistry, Harvard Medical School, welcome Fiona, and then Yale Law School, where he received his law degree. This is the impressive part. In his first run for political office, Wu was elected to represent Oregon's 1st congressional district, succeeding retired Democratic Elizabeth First. He nearly defeated Republican Molly Brundle in 1998. He served 12 years in office. Thank you so much for your service, David. In the House, David was best known for taking a strong stand on human rights. His congressional district contained the world headquarters of Nike and is home to over 15,000 Intel employees at the time. As the first Chinese-American member of the U.S. House of Representatives, David took a strong role in Asian Pacific Islander leadership. He chaired a congressional APIA caucus for 4 years, growing its membership to over 100 by welcoming non-APIA affiliate members. He's passed legislation to prevent discrimination against APIAs at the Department of Energy, had an important role in passing legislation to screen for hepatitis C, very important issue among our communities. He also passed legislation to commemorate APIA heroes from the Civil War to World War II, who has been left out of the history book. And to wrap this up, perhaps David's most enduring legacy is his legislation to create the Lewis and Clark National Park located at the mouth of Columbia River. David, that's David. Welcome, Fiona. Thank you for joining us. So a little brief intro of Fiona. I know this definitely doesn't do you justice. I've seen your work from San Francisco all the way to now being on the board of legalization. So former Assembly Speaker Pro Tem Fiona Ma was elected to the State Board of Equalization District 2 seat in 2014, so a new election. The seat represents 10 million people from the Oregon border to Santa Barbara County. Fiona is a licensed CPA in California since 1992 and holds a BS in accounting from the Rochester Institute of Technology in New York, a master's degree in taxation from Golden Gate University in San Francisco, and an MBA from Pepperdine University. She's a member of the Cal CPA and Cal CPA's Public Policy Task Force. This is uniquely qualified to lead the Board of Equalization in attacking a growing underground economy that robs our schools, universities, and vital public safety revenues they need and should be collected. Prior to elected service, she serves as the San Francisco Assessment Appeals Board, where she presides over personal and corporate property tax appeal cases from 1994 to 1999. From 1995 to 2001, she was a district representative to former Senator John Burton, where she helped constituents with a wide range of issue areas, including the Board of Equalization and Franchise Tax Boards. Fiona was elected to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors from 2002 to 2006, then the State Assembly from 2006 to 2012, where she serves as the Speaker Pro Tem. Fiona believes strongly in the need to nurture our next generation and expose them to public service, and happily accepts interns from our Capitol and District office. And we thank Fiona every year for speaking to our interns when we visit the Capitol. And I remember all the passionate speeches you give them to really motivate them to step into office. To wrap this up, Assembly Fiona received her BS from Rochester Institute, taxation from Golden Gate University, and MBA from Pepperdine University. I would say Fiona was the first Speaker Pro Tem, right, in the Assembly, Asian women Speaker Pro Tem, and the quickest to step in that position also. So let's give both of them a hand of applause, and then I want to turn the mic over to them. Thank you so much.
You are all here from around the country because democratic government and participation is extremely important, and you are either running for office or supporters of people who are running for office. And running for office and seeking appointments are basically the process of making democratic government go. And why is democracy and why is democratic government so important? Well, first of all, there's nothing as important to any country or any society than the issue of war and peace. And in modern times, in the last 200 years, there's simply been no example of a democratic country going to war with another democratic country. Autocratic countries go to wars with other autocratic countries, by the way, with great frequency, Autocratic countries go to war with democracies, but there is no example in the last 200 years of one democracy making war on another one. So war and peace is perhaps the most important issue that there is for a nation and for a people. Corruption and clean government. Democratic government decreases corruption and increases clean government. There are international indices of clean government, and democracies rank at the top of all of these indices. It promotes stability because the process of democratic government lets pressures off a little bit at a time. And in contrast, autocratic government seeks to cap these pressures, and it creates a false sense of security, and ultimately, I believe that there's just about always a blow-up. There are people who argue that it cannot work here because of our special circumstances. And I just want to point out that it works under just about every circumstance. For example, the small country of Israel, surrounded by adversaries, and yet it's able to maintain vibrant democratic institutions. India, 1 billion people, mostly poor, mostly illiterate, and yet it has been able to maintain a democratic system. My view is that people who say it can't happen here are basically, that these are make-weight arguments, and that basically these are excuses by those who currently hold power to not let the process work so that people who don't have power have a chance at stepping in. And there are the folks who say it's not in our culture. It's not in our people's DNA. And I just want to point out that democratic self-government is recent anywhere in the world where it exists. In the United States, it's 230 years old. It's barely 200 years old in Great Britain. In Germany and Japan, it's a post-World War II phenomenon. And in other countries, it's even more recent than that. So again, the roots are shallow, no matter where you look. And the statement that it has to, that we can't do it because it's not in our culture or not in our history, well, it's not in anyone's culture. It's not in anyone's history. So I'm here today with you who are seeking office to promote, all of these things, promoting peace, promoting stability, promoting clean government, that it's very, very important that you do this. You're going to take risks. You're going to risk your financial situation because you take lower pay, as those who have sought office understand. You're going to risk your reputation because people will take pot shots at you, whether fair or not. You're going to risk your family because of all the stresses involved. But I'm here to say that it's important, it's worth it, and I hope that you will do it. Fiona?
So, you know, I am the oldest daughter of immigrant parents. Both of my parents were born in China, and they came to this country for a better society, living for themselves and the kids, and politics was not an option for me. When I grew up, my parents said, we'll send you to college if you pick one of the lead professions, a lawyer, an engineer, accountant, or a doctor. And since I was good at math, my parents decided I should be an accountant. But I must tell you, anyone study accounting? And it is very, very boring, right? So I went to school in Rochester in an accounting program, and every year I would call my parents and say, Mom and Dad, I don't think I should be an accountant. I want to go into like political science or international business or just something that's more exciting. And my parents said, no, you stay there, click. And I kind of managed getting through 4 years of accounting. I did my mandatory two turns of internship with Ernst & Whinney in the Trust and Estate Department in Manhattan. And they offered me a job after I graduated, decided to move to San Francisco, had to interview all over again, and decided to stay with Ernst & Whinney in the tax department doing real estate. real estate development, most of the real estate tax work. Stayed there for 5 years. Saw the glass ceiling because there were no women partners, very few women senior managers, and they really did work us very hard for very little pay. So after 5 years, after I got my CPA license, after I got my master's in taxation, I decided to quit and start my own practice. It was at that time that someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Miss Ma, if you want to get clients quickly, you should be president of the Asian Business Association. We're a nonprofit. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be a lot of time. We're going to help you." Yeah. So I'm 28 years old. I want to start my career, very, very gullible. So I said, okay, I'll take over. So that was the first time when I was 28 years old that I ever got involved in politics. I never ran for office. My parents didn't want me to get involved and never got involved. The most we ever did was watch the president's speech once a year on TV, and I thought that was a little bit boring too. But so here I was, going down to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors to lobby them, went to Sacramento to testify, got elected as a delegate to the White House Conference on Small Business under Bill Clinton, and I was so amazed that the president cared about small businesses. And so I came back and looked around at the elected officials, and I thought I could do a better job. How many of you think you can do a better job than your elected officials right now? Raise your hand. Then you're on the right path, okay? So I kind of thought, if I want to run for office, what is it going to take? Well, the first step I think that's important is to get appointed to a local border commission, any local border commission, right? Because that's where you start learning Robert's Rules of Order, sunshine. You understand, how much you should talk to the press, how much you maybe shouldn't talk to the press, how to work collaboratively with your fellows, how to count votes. When you want to get something done, you have to be able to count votes to get it done, right? And how to work with others to get what you need done. So being appointed to a border commission, I think, is very important and one of the first steps to prepare you for elected office. Then if you really are serious after that, you should work on campaigns. Okay, you should do everything. You should, walk precincts. You should do phone banking. You should try to organize the volunteers. You should really try to step it up. And I worked on many, many campaigns, did pro bono tax work for the filings for many campaigns, and it still didn't prepare me even when I was a candidate. But it is a good start to understand that how you motivate volunteers in an office. And how many of you have worked in a campaign? Okay. How many of you saw the person, the candidate, like on a daily basis when you were working on a campaign? So that's not very good, right? This is my third campaign that I won. And I won each campaign. I'm very fortunate I didn't lose a campaign, but that's because I did prepare myself working on campaigns. Because like me, if the candidate only came in once in a while, right, left early and said, hey, thank you all, I'm gonna go have dinner with my family now. Like, why should we stay around? I like to have dinner with my family too, right? Saturday mornings, you're up early walking precincts. Are they there saying, thank you very much, I'm walking precincts with you? Or do they say, thank you very much, I gotta go do something else, okay? So as a candidate, if you wanna be a candidate, you have to be willing to work harder and longer than all of your volunteers. Okay, and that means it has to be in your gut to be a candidate. You have to have that confidence. You have to want the seat more than anybody else. Even if you're sick, I was sick pretty much most of my supervisor campaign, and I just go out every day, just drug up and go out, because your volunteers are not going to be there unless you're going to be there. Okay, they need to have like a captain at the helm.